Hi, I'm Morgan,
And I'm Megan.
twins and host of M&M Chat, a monthly podcast that brings together our many commonalities: motherhood, farm life, fitness, chasing our passions, and gore chat. It is our goal to create a show that is positive, real, and fun. Now let's continue to dive into season 2.
In this series, you guys, we are talking about chatting about change. We're talking about changes in seasons, changes in our lives, and changes in our mindset. And so, if you listen to last episode, we started this conversation, but today we're going to just continue it. And we actually have a few articles and podcasts that we listen to that we are just going to go through and talk about what we've learned. So we're kind of combining everything that we talked about month, and then we're combining this new information that we've learned and discussing how we can navigate the seasons of waiting, the between places of different milestones in life, and then trying to bring calm and joy into those different seasons of life that we all go through and the seasons of unknown. So things that we don't know what's coming our way. And so we really just want to continue that conversation. And so some of the articles that we will be looking at have to do with complacency versus contentment, lessons that are learned during hard seasons, and then also creating a life that you love, even when there are the ups and downs and the different changes that we go through. But before we dive into those articles and that podcast episode, I wanted to bring us back to last month when Morgan told us that she has a lot going on right now in her own life as far as she was going through the house build and that season of waiting. But Morgan, you left us on a cliffhanger and kind of told us that you had some more things coming your way that will be either big changes or a little bit more waiting. And so you got to tell us because our listeners probably want to know what those things are.
Yes. So hopefully you listened to last month's episode. So this won't be like a total surprise. And also, if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you probably already know the insights. But we have had a very big, exciting, and kind of overwhelming summer in some ways too. So yes, Tyler and I moved in our house about a week and a half ago now, a week and a day. So
Yay!
we're still unboxing things, but you guys have heard me talk about the house a lot in the last 2 years on this podcast. So it's so exciting that we are in. You're watching on YouTube. There you go.
It's
Those are the
beautiful.
and the second exciting thing is that Tyler and I are expecting, and our baby is due in February. So, baby Hibbs number 2. So, Dean is going to be promoted to big brother.
I can't wait to spoil another little niece or nephew.
Yes, yes. And this pregnancy has been quite a bit different with like symptoms and things. So, feeling a little bit more like myself in the last week or so. But last night I still was feeling pretty bleh.
So
But
I am
that's okay.
wondering if you ever like listen to the wives' tales and the things that they say, like when it's a girl versus a boy. You said it's quite a bit different than when you were pregnant with Dean, and it seems like you have a little bit more nauseousness and just more like headaches and just different things. So it makes me wonder if it's a girl this time. I don't know.
Yeah,
Do you have a feeling?
I do kind of think it's a go too. And even Dean thinks it is. He's starting to kind of understand. Like last night, I wasn't feeling too well, and Tyler's like, Dean, you have to be nice to mommy. Mommy's not feeling too well. And he like patted my stomach and he was like, baby. Yeah.
Oh.
And I was like, do you want a baby brother or a baby sister? And he said, a baby sister. So
Oh.
I don't know if he has a little insight, if he has an intuition, but either way, a healthy baby is what matters. But I have a goal name picked out. If we have a baby boy, I don't know what I'm going to name him. I probably should try to brainstorm that. So yeah, that's really exciting. But it's also been kind of a lot this summer with the house,
Yeah.
the baby, and then I also am starting a new job in the fall. So I'm starting at CCA as a middle school ag teacher, which is a huge transition for me. I have taught agriculture through Ag in the Classroom, but to be in a school district and to be there full time and to have a set of students that I teach every day is going to be quite different from going to classroom, and all the logistics of like learning the ropes of a new job, and then with a baby on the way, like maternity leave in February and stuff like that. It's three big things at once, and all very exciting things that I'm so blessed for and thankful for. And yeah, mainly just feeling all the warm feelings of like just feeling so thankful, but also like, am I crazy?
Well, and I've been hearing a lot lately that it's totally okay to feel all the feelings. Like you can feel blessed and thankful and joy while also feeling a little like overwhelmed and a little bit like nervous and stressed and a little bit like, how am I going to do all of this? So I feel like this conversation comes perfectly for the timing of the seasons that you're going through right now. You've definitely, I've seen over the last few months, have had to rely on God for each one of these stepping stones because, I mean, when you go into interviews, you don't know what's going to happen. When you um, go to the doctor for your first baby appointment, you don't know how that's going to go. When you are building a house, you don't know how and when that is all going to get done. And so I feel like each one of these big life things are starting to come together for you, but you've definitely had to go through those seasons of just waiting and being patient and relying on God so that you can find that contentment and not feeling that overwhelm or feeling too stressed out. And so I think this is the perfect conversation right now for all of those big things.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Um,
Is Dean awake?
yeah, I think I might go. I'm just gonna take this over here.
Well, while Morgan is moving locations so that she can hopefully let Dean fall back to sleep, you guys, we have, like we mentioned a little bit ago, three different resources that we looked into this month so that we can enrich our conversation a little bit. And the first one is by standrews.org, and it's about complacency versus contentment. And sometimes those two words get interchanged. And sometimes we can get them confused, or we think we are being content, but really we're just being complacent, or vice versa. We're maybe not taking those steps that God wants us to take. So this article talked about it defined the two in a Christian light. So I wanted to share that little snippet from the article. It said contentment is being satisfied with where God has placed you. And this is more about finding true contentment in where God has put you in that season. So, for example, if God wants you to be in a certain spot in your life, like Morgan with getting a new job at CCA, while she's in that waiting period, she can be content where she's at. And whether she was like still trying to decide if she should stay at her other job or if she was taking the steps to move into the new job, she can be content in the fact that she is still joyful and she's still happy and satisfied with where she's at. But if something is placed on her heart that it's time for a change, then she's not just staying stagnant and deciding to be complacent and not make those steps to change up what is going on. So if God puts something on your heart, then that's when you do try to take those steps to move towards that next milestone in your life or that next season in your life. And really finding the difference between those two, like being content where you're at versus being complacent and you're just a little timid or nervous or scared to make those next steps.
I agree. I think so too. Like right here, it says, do you ever feel like you're living on autopilot? And like there's some danger in like living in autopilot. Like that people are like, well, how is that a bad thing? Like you're going through the routines and routines are good. And like, yes, routines are good. But sometimes autopilot like can put you into a place of like stagnant and then not moving up or down. You're just kind of going through the motions of your life. And you can sometimes not become, you can sometimes one become resentful of different things if you're not reaching towards the goals that God has like placed on your heart. But I also feel like you can go into a place where you're not trying new things, you're not exploring new things, you're not growing. And it can be, might not be relying on God if you're just kind of in a going through the motions phase and you're not really putting in extra effort. And even with your life, with your children or your kids, like, are you living through autopilot where you're just going through the motions with your spouse or
Mhm.
getting your kids up for for school and getting them out the door and like not putting in that effort to like sometimes it does take that extra step. But like if your goal and God is placing on your heart that you need to like be spending extra quality time with your spouse, for example, and you're just kind of going through autopilot, then you're not making those intentions and then you're staying stagnant. So I think there can be a danger in that, but I also think like there can also be a danger in like trying
Always
to achieve
striving.
too much
Yeah.
and not
Like,
being content. So
yes.
you can, yeah, like you said, you can be content and satisfied with where God has placed you, where you are at in the current state. But I also feel like if He has placed something on your heart, it's on your heart for a reason. And it's okay to want to change while still being content in your current situation. And like the last couple of months, we talked about organization and like house creating a calm and peaceful home. Like, same with that. You can be content and happy. Like, right now with our house, I am so content and happy, even though all of our stuff's still in boxes and things like that. So it's
Yeah.
okay. Like, it's good to be content. Like, we moved in. I'm just so thankful that we moved in. The boxes and stuff, like, my goal is to get everything organized. But if it doesn't happen right away, it's okay. So, like, being able to be content, but also still wanting to, like, reach those goals of
Yes.
unboxing everything.
Well, I've always said that walking out is kind of like a metaphor for life. You can do an easy walkout and just be like, I'm just gonna do this to cross it off the list and just get it done for the day. Or you can push yourself hard and try to reach that next level of like exhaustion and get the most out of it. And I also feel like that goes to say with results. Like that's a huge thing right now in I feel like in the fitness community is people are talking about body self-love, which I am so for. I want everyone to love where they're at and who they are, but that doesn't mean that you can't strive to make healthier choices for
Mhm.
yourself. I feel like the ultimate self-love is taking care of your body with fitness and good nutrition and mindset. So I feel like those go kind of together. Like it's a good metaphor and a good example for this topic. Like being complacent, both is content. It's two different things, I feel like. And sometimes
Yeah.
we can get stuck in being complacent because it's the comfortable zone and we don't want to stretch out of the comfortable zone. Um, but then also when you stretch out of that comfortable zone, then you can find that contentment in that season where that takes you.
Yeah, exactly. And in your fitness analogy, like if you do the same workout day after day after day, you're gonna plateau.
Yeah.
And that plateauing, people are like, well, why am I plateauing? It's like you said, you're not pushing yourself, just doing the same thing every day.
Yes.
Um, okay, so I feel like that one was a really good one to start with, because it really kind of defined like we're not saying like it's like you never want to just be happy with where you're at, because I also think those seasons where you should be just like relaxing and taking
Yeah.
time to really quiet your mind and things like that. And that's where this next article, so this next one is called Lessons Learned from a Hard Season of Waiting, Cups to Crowns. And this one was really interesting. And we're going to try to link all of these to our show notes. So if you guys want to access them, and follow along with us, you can, or check them out afterwards. But this one was about comparing seasons of life to weather seasons, which Megan and I kind of do frequently. We talk about like seasons of life and then seasons like we go through seasons in the fall, summer, winter, and so like it's similar to our life. But the way they put this was really interesting. They said that the hard things that we could go through in our seasons like help prepare us for the next season. And if we
Mhm.
think about like with weather, like winter prepares us in our soil, especially here in Iowa. Like I know not all states and countries and continents have the same seasons, but in Iowa specifically, like when we go through our seasons, winter is preparing our soil and our wildlife and things for spring, when we have new blooms, we have animals being born, and then we have the soil, the microbial activity that's preparing for spring. And then we get into summer, which is our growing season, and then fall, which is harvest. Each season has to happen to be able to have that life cycle for our plants and our wildlife and things like that to continue. So if we look at it with life perspective, they were comparing how the seasons prepare each other. And in our life, when we go through a hard season or when we go through a season of waiting, it can help us prepare for the outcome of that or the next season that we're heading towards.
I love that analogy because it really does break it down and kind of remind us that the hard seasons lead to the happier, brighter seasons. It might be hard to see in the moment, but once you get there, you kind of realize some of the things that you learned along the way, or you look back and see how God used that in your life for maybe something else to happen. And so I do definitely think that they are all connected and lead to each other. Something that, so we wrote down a quote that we loved from this article, and it kind of goes along with that. It says, "We can't know the bright happiness of summer if we don't have a clue about the dark emptiness of winter. God uses our time in these spiritual seasons to refine us, shaping us into the character of Christ. Unfortunately, we won't always recognize why we are going through a particular season until we can look back and examine it with fresh eyes."
I love that quote. I think I always tell Tyler that, especially with being a flower farmer and things like that, the summer is always so busy that I actually just love winter because it's an excuse for me to calm down. Like
Hmm.
it's an excuse for me to, it gets dark at 5 o'clock p.m. I can kind of hibernate. I can go in
Yes.
the house. I can get cozy. I can have, I'm drinking some pumpkin chai tea right now. So I can, it's not winter right now, but I can get a cozy drink. I can curl up with a book. Like I like to read books during Christmas break. For me, winter, yeah, sometimes it can get kind of long. Like usually come February, you're like ready for spring.
Yeah.
But in the beginning of winter, like feeling like kind of cozy and warm and like wrapped up in that season. Like I know sometimes during hard seasons it's easy to just want to skip to the next part. But in this next one that Megan and I are going to talk about, she talked a lot about like preparing in the waiting season. So like in winter, I'm kind of preparing for the busy season. Like I'm taking a rest, I'm calming down, I'm kind of hibernating, I'm garden planning, I'm buying seeds. I'm moving at a little slower pace so that way when summer comes, I can like go full force. And like with starting a new job this fall, this summer, I've been focusing a lot on like my flower business and like the house and things like that. So I haven't had as much time to like mentally prepare for starting a new job as I would like. But I am going into, so I start new teacher training next week. So next week I have an entire week for new teacher training and then the following week for orientation. So like now my mind is like shifting into school mode and like trying to prepare myself for the coming school year.
Mhm.
And so I think we can, even though right now I'm waiting in that season, like I'm waiting to like getting kind of antsy and figuring out like the new systems of a new position, a new job, the way a district works, things like that. And I can feel overwhelmed and antsy and stressed. Or I can just use this time to like, okay, I have 2 weeks. Yes, maybe I wish I would have a little bit more time to mentally prepare myself and like take advantage of the summer, but the summer's been busy. Okay, so okay, set that aside. Now I have 2 weeks. I'm gonna try to prepare as much as I can to feel like I'm ready. I'm gonna try to get my classroom set up and ready so that way I feel good about my space. I'm gonna try to create that calm out of the chaos that we've been talking about.
Yes. Yes, that's a good example. Um, so that leads right into the podcast that we were listening to. And the podcast is called How to Make the Most of a Waiting Season and Create a Life You Really Love. And the podcast is by Stephanie Mae Wilson, and she interviewed Jordan Lee Dooley, which both of those ladies have written books on this topic. And so if you want to dive into your own study about this, if you are going through a season of waiting or a hard season or the unknown, I highly recommend the resources created by these two women because they are very helpful and powerful, and I feel like they give a lot of good ideas and suggestions. So I highly recommend you looking into those if you want to dive a little deeper. But
In that
this,
episode, I just want to say that
yeah,
episode is 209. So if you just want to
listen to
go
that.
to podcast Apple or whatnot and Google episode 209 of Goa's Night by Stephanie Mae Wilson, you'll find that.
And just a reminder, you guys, Stephanie Mae Wilson is the one who created this book that Morgan and I have been using this summer, The Between Places. So she's not only got the book, but she's got the podcast. So if you remember that from the last episode. All right. So this one, some things that you will take, like you will learn, and we'll dive into these a little bit more, but some things you'll learn on this podcast when you listen to it is what to do when you are really hoping for something and it's just not happening. How can you make the most of a waiting season and create a life you really like? And she uses the word like instead of love because sometimes love seems a little bit Hallmark-y and a little bit more just like a catchphrase. How you can keep a waiting season from being a wasted season, how to keep yourself from being discouraged or distracted by comparison, and how to keep going when it feels like your best efforts haven't made a difference. So let's go back to that first one. So, what are some takeaways that we learned or took away from this episode about what to do when we're hoping for something and it just doesn't seem to be happening?
Stephanie gave a really good example. So it says what to do when you're really hoping for something. So this is something that I just wanted to share in case there are other young women listening or women who could really benefit from this advice. I wish I would have heard this when I was in high school. So she talked about she was single for a lot of years and she was really hoping to find someone to marry, and it just wasn't happening. She was having a hard time finding someone, and she was really starting to feel discouraged and frustrated. And she's like, I just don't know if this is going to happen for me. But instead, she took that time and she really focused on herself and finding out who she was. And she really worked on her own journey of her faith and her well being and wellness and stuff like that, and her career. And she really took that time to prioritize herself. And then she also said she did some really cool things like traveled and hung out with friends. And so I thought that was really neat and interesting. And something like when I was in high school and things, I always worried about like, was I going to be asked to prom? Or,
Mm-hmm.
like you worry about those things. And understandably, like in high school, like everyone's dating, everyone's going out and doing things. But like if I would have had that advice in high school, like really like focus on you during this time of waiting and hoping for that, like I feel like it also gives you a better perspective of like what you're looking for
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. So that was just one thing that I took away from that and that I thought she gave really good advice about.
And something that they talked about was it can be frustrating when you seem really close to a dream or you feel like you can see it but you just can't quite reach it, and that's okay. They actually talked about how a lot of times in our life we are in that season where we're going after like a career promotion or going after growing our family or going after like we want to save money for anniversary vacation. So a lot of times we can be close to one of those big dreams that we have, and we just maybe aren't quite there yet. And I have an example of that I actually shared about on Instagram and Facebook last week. So if you guys don't know, I sell Body. I'm a body partner, which is formerly known as Beachbody. And within that company, you can earn rank advancements. And when you earn rank advancements, more opportunity open up to you, whether it be compensation or leadership training or just different conferences that you can go to, accolades, different things like that. And sometimes people can hit emerald and then ruby and then diamond like that, where it's just a snap of a finger and it seems like they hit it. Whereas sometimes it takes people a little bit longer. And I've been a partner for about 3 years now, and getting a little discouraged because I haven't hit that goal of mine, which is diamond. And I just saw someone recently share that they did hit diamond, and I started playing that comparison game and started to just focus on like things that I'm not doing yet, things that I haven't reached yet, those goals of mine that I haven't reached. And I started feeling discouraged, frustrated, and felt like I was failing at this opportunity. And so I kind of did a little moment of sulking and a little bit of like, well, maybe this isn't for me then, and feeling like a little bit of frustration. But with a lot of these things that we've been learning about through just personal development, time spent praying, time spent journaling, using this book, The Between Places, I was like, okay, well, maybe it's just not my season yet of being a diamond ranked partner. Maybe this is that time where I need to reflect on like looking back at the journey versus the destination and just wanting the accolade of saying that I did it. And so I sat back and like looked back at my journey, looked back at how far I have come as a partner, how much I have grown, like myself and things that I have done. Um, and just those like day-to-day accomplishments that add up to that whole entire journey. So
I'm
I
gonna go grab Dean quick.
Okay, so I just wanted to mention that to you guys, that example, because sometimes it can be frustrating when you see that goal and you really want that goal, but you haven't been able to quite reach it yet. And you don't want to waste away that time. Diesel's bark. You don't want to waste away that time because a lot of our life is spent kind of in those in-between places. So the girl that she interviewed, Jordan Lee Dooley, one thing that she really talked about is the word like. So when you like your life, it means that what you are enjoying, you can actually be enjoying at the same time. So she was saying how if you only like your life when things are going right, then you're going to miss out on so much of the other things in your life, which I thought was really cool. Hey, Dean Bean. So another thing she said was liking your life can mean you aim for your goals and dreams while also tending to the life you are currently living. So that kind of goes back to that complacency versus contentment. And then some practical strategies, you guys, that she said when you're in that season. Morgan talked about how you can grow yourself with the example of like if you're can't say that word, signal, single. Oh my gosh. When you're single, waiting to maybe like be in a relationship, you can grow yourself and figure out who you are and what you want out of your own life, or maybe what you're looking for in a partner. Or if you're in a season of waiting for kids, if you're in a season of waiting for a career, any season that you're in. For me, if I'm in the season of waiting to rank advance in my body business, any season that you're in, some practical strategies that she gave was pretty easy, you guys, things that we can all kind of do in those seasons. One was learning something new, like a hobby, doing fun and interesting activities. So some examples she said was she started um, gardening so that she could do something with her hands, she could nurture something, she could use the materials that God has provided. She also talked about how she learned how to play, I believe it was poker, and
Yeah,
with
with
her
her
dad.
dad.
And so just something new to like keep a mind off of things, but also still have fun and joy with people around her. She said that she recommends investing in your health, so physical and mental health, um, and then identifying your desire behind the dream. She also talked about how serving others can fill your cup. And so whether you serve people in your circle or in your community, in your career, your
I
job.
thought that one was really good because, like she said, there's just something about like helping other people and how even if your cup's not filled, by helping other people, it can fill not only their cup, but your cup. Like it
Yes.
just feels good to help and to like provide a light in someone else's life when even if your light is kind of dimmed.
Yeah, and something like a good example she gave, and she said this wouldn't be for everybody because everybody deals with circumstances in a different way. But she said sometimes if you serve in the area that you have felt a loss in,
Hmm.
then that actually might help too. For example, if you're feeling lonely, then if you go and serve at a place where other people are maybe lonely, then that would provide and fill the cup for both of you. So if you're feeling lonely and you go to a nursing home, imagine all of those residents at the nursing home that
Hmm.
might also feel lonely. And then that way, both of you are filling your cup and having someone to talk to. So, and she said that wouldn't be for everybody because sometimes that might make people who are in that season of feeling lonely maybe even more sad. So
Well,
she
and
said
she
it depends
said,
on your personality.
yeah, she said personality, and she also said how fresh it is.
Yes.
So like if you're going through something pretty hard and it's pretty fresh, like if you're grieving or something like that might not be the best thing to do. But like she said, for her situation that she was going through, she had been to, bless you, she had been to therapy and was like in a good place. Yeah. Do you want to go to the bathroom and grab a Kleenex? Okay, I'll come with you. She had been in a pretty good place that she was able to go do that.
Yes.
I know, Mamie and I are almost done. You're being patient.
All right, you guys, I'm just kind of taking a look at my notes to see if there's anything else that we wanted to talk about. I think one of the big things to remember is that the things that you go through in your life make up who you are, and um, they help you show how resilient you are and help you also kind of identify where you want your life to go. So I do think that whether it's something that is a season that you maybe don't want to go through, God always has a plan, and I feel like He always has it laid out for us. We just might not always know what His plan is until afterwards. But I feel like we can't have like what we were saying, the season, we can't have summer without winter. So I feel like that's like valleys and hills. Like we need those valleys to see how great the view is up on the hill. And so, um, yeah, you guys, this is just a topic that Morgan and I felt was very relevant to us right now. And let us know on social media if you enjoyed this topic, and if you are going through different seasons, let us know too, because we can pray for you and pray for the community. And so just keep us in the loop and share this episode with others if you took something away from it. Dean, do you
Yeah,
want to
thank you,
say hi?
everyone. Dean, can you say hi?
Hi, buddy. All right, you guys, thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you again next month.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.